Sweep, The Story of a Girl and Her Monster by Jonathan Auxier. There's a very good trailer for this book. Sweep. This fictional story takes place in London in the 1800s. When I hear about a chimney sweep, I picture Bert from Mary Poppins singing and dancing on the rooftops. In actuality, thousands of very young children were used to climb through the narrow chimneys to clean them, and it was a very dangerous job. Nan Sparrow's earliest memories were of a kind man she called the Sweep. They went everywhere together. He took care of her and taught her to read and write, as well as to climb and sweep chimneys. One morning when she was 5 years old, she woke up on a rooftop in London, and the Sweep was gone. All she had left is his hat and a clump of sooty char that she found inside it. Nan is now 10 years old and has spent the last 5 years as an indentured servant, working as a climber for chimney sweep master Crud. During one job, she got stuck inside a chimney and had to send for help. But instead of throwing her a rope, her rival, Roger, lights a fire to motivate her to free herself. When Nan awakens, she finds herself unharmed in a crawl space above the attic. She also discovers that the clump of char has changed. It now seems to be alive. She names it Charlie. Nan finds an abandoned house to live in, and she and Charlie take care of each other and make a new life for themselves. Charlie learns to talk, and he grows and grows. They must be very careful. Nan must stay hidden from Master Crud, and Charlie must keep out of sight, because when people see him, they are afraid and call him a monster. Nan figures out that Charlie is a golem made from soot, but is worried because once a golem has fulfilled his purpose, it must die. There is also an introduction to this book recorded by the author. "12 Days in May, Freedom Ride 1961 by Larry Dane Brimmer. In 1946, the Supreme Court ruled that segregated seating on buses traveling between states was unconstitutional. A 1960 ruling extended that to include all bus station facilities used by interstate passengers. However, in the South, the facilities were still segregated, and the federal government did not enforce the law. In 1961, in an effort to draw attention to this problem, James Farmer, the leader of the Congress of Racial Equality, organized a freedom ride from Washington, D.C. to New Orleans. The original riders were 13 volunteers of all ages, some black and some white, all of whom were committed to non-violence. On May 4, 1961, 6 freedom riders boarded a Greyhound bus, and 7 rode a Continental Trailways bus. In addition to sitting anywhere on the bus they chose, at each stop, 1 or 2 of the passengers would try to use a restroom, waiting room, or lunch counter labeled for use only by the other race. The farther south they traveled, the response to the actions became more violent. In North Carolina, a rider was arrested and jailed for trespassing. In South Carolina, 2 riders were beaten and kicked. The Ku Klux Klan was waiting for them in Alabama. They stopped one of the buses and set it on fire, trying to trap the riders inside. When they did manage to get off the bus, they were beaten. This nonfiction book gives the details of the 12-day freedom ride, advocating for the enforcement of civil rights that had already been granted by the U.S. Supreme Court. Spirit Hunters by Ellen O. This is a creepy ghost story. Harper and her family have moved into an old house in Washington, D.C. that her parents are trying to renovate. She hates it there and wishes they were still living in New York City. As Harper is exploring the neighborhood, she meets a girl named Deo who is taking care of her grandma's little dog Pumpkin. The 2 girls quickly become friends. Deo tells Harper that their house has been empty for a long time and is supposed to be haunted. Harper doesn't believe her. But then her younger brother, Michael, tells her about his new friend Billy, but Harper can't see him. Later, Michael complains that Billy tries to make him do things he doesn't want to do, and he wants Billy to go away. Then Michael's personality changes completely. He is mean and aggressive toward Harper and their older sister Kelly, and his eyes look black and cold. Harper is finally able to remember some things that she went through when she was younger, and becomes convinced that Michael is being possessed by an evil spirit, and that it is up to her to save him. There is a very good trailer for this book. A Good Kind of Trouble by Lisa Moore Remy. Shayla is allergic to trouble. It makes her hands itch, so she tries to follow the rules at school and at home. Throughout elementary school, Shayla has been best friends with Isabella, who is Puerto Rican, and Julia, who is Japanese American. Shayla is black. They call themselves the United Nations. Now they're in 7th grade and meeting lots more kids. Everything is changing, and it seems like they are no longer united. Shayla's older sister, Hannah, is involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. There is a lot of unrest and protesting in their city over a video of a white police officer shooting a black man and the coverage of the trial. Shayla decides to wear a black armband to school in support of Black Lives Matter. Soon other students are also wearing them until the principal announces that they are a violation of the school dress code and not allowed. Now Shayla has to decide what is the right thing to do. Are there some things that are worth standing up for, even at the risk of getting into trouble? The Parker Inheritance by Varian Johnson. You may wish to watch the author's introduction to his book. Candace's grandmother had been the city manager for Lambert, South Carolina. She received a letter claiming that there was a fortune hidden to benefit the city. She tried to follow the clues and ended up ordering a tennis court to be dug up. She did not find the treasure and lost her job and her reputation. Candace and her mom are spending the summer in grandmother's house in Lambert. While looking in the attic, Candace finds a box with her name on it. Inside are old books and encyclopedias and an old puzzle book. An envelope falls out containing a copy of the letter that started her grandmother on the treasure hunt. Her grandmother had written, "Find the path, solve the puzzle." The letter talks about a black family named Washington that was discriminated against and run out of town by the Allen boys. The letter writer had sought revenge by financially ruining the Allen family and the town. Now he had created a puzzle mystery to give the town a chance to reclaim that money. Candace, along with Brandon, who lives across the street, are determined to delve into the city's history and follow the clues, not only to find the treasure, but also to vindicate Candace's grandmother. The book alternates between the kids' activities in the present and stories of Enoch Washington and his family from the past. Drum Roll Please by Lisa Jen Bigelow. Melissa Goodwin is usually quiet. Her mom calls her Melly Mouse. She and Olivia have been friends forever, and Melly is content to let Olivia lead and pull her forward into trying new things. It was because of Olivia that Melly joined the school band, but she discovered that she liked playing drums and making noise. Now Olivia has convinced Melly to join her for 2 weeks at Camp Rockaway, a music camp in the North Michigan woods. Just before leaving for camp, Melly's parents drop a bombshell. They are getting a divorce, and Dad is moving out as soon as he finds an apartment. Melly hadn't seen this coming. She'd never heard them arguing or fighting or anything, and she was angry and confused. At camp, Olivia and Melly are assigned to the same tent, but to different bands. It was difficult for Melly to learn to play with another bass player. Then Olivia develops a crush on a boy from her group and is spending almost all of her free time with him. Melly feels there is a rift in her friendship with Olivia, but she joins others in going swimming at the lake. She learns to dive, and she goes canoeing. In the process, she develops a crush on Adeline, a girl in her band who plays acoustic guitar. It's 2 weeks full of emotional ups and downs for Melly as she struggles to make herself heard. Speechless by Adam P. Schmidt, who is an Illinois author. Jimmy's 13-year-old cousin Patrick has died. Jimmy has never been to a wake or a funeral before, so he doesn't know what to expect. His mom insists that he wears his dress pants, but they are from last year and he can barely breathe. He's afraid the button will pop off at any minute. After they arrive, his mother informs him that he must speak during the funeral service the next morning. Any public speaking is terrifying, but at least when he has to give a report in front of his class at school, he knows what he's supposed to talk about. How can he come up with something nice to say about Patrick? He and Patrick were in the same grade, and their mothers are twins, so they were together a lot. But Patrick always ruined everything. Every story Jimmy can think of, every event, every holiday ended up with Patrick breaking a toy or destroying something, or someone getting injured, or Patrick having a meltdown and being carried out yelling and crying? How can he stand up in front of a church full of people and tell the truth? Most of the book consists of Jimmy struggling to write a speech, trying to find a quiet space to think among all of the people who show up for the wake, and his memories of times with Patrick. It ends with a eulogy that he gives at the funeral. Thank you for allowing me to share these book talks with you. I hope they have piqued your interest in reading some of the books on the Rebecca Caudill list. As I mentioned earlier, the books are available at the library and from the middle school teachers. We can also borrow additional copies of the book through interlibrary loan, and many can be checked out online as ebooks. Since you live in the Carthage Elementary School District, you are also in our libraries district, so there is no fee to get a library card. Just ask your parent or guardian to fill out and sign a registration card for you. This will enable you to check out books and DVDs and also give you access to the online databases and ebooks. Thank you.